Hey there, welcome to Find Your Sun. I'm Cass.
And I'm Mare.
Join us as we find our sun through movement, nourishment, and well-being.
Awakened through the power of play. Let's dive in.
We're going to be talking about setting intentions versus resolutions. And I just want to say Happy New Year to all of the sun seekers out there. Welcome back to the Sun Podcast, where we explore movement, nourishment, and well-being through the lens of play. I'm Cass, and I'm here with my incredible co-host and creative partner, Mare. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Cass. This is the first time we're seeing each other too since the break, and just catching up. I'm so excited. So happy New Year to you, Cass, and hello, Sun Seekers. And wow, it just feels amazing to kick off 2025 with all of you. I am so excited about this episode and what's ahead this year. Cass, how is 2025 feeling so far for you?
So far, it's feeling like a lot, but I also feel like I'm managing everything in a more orderly way. And, you know, this episode, we're talking all about intentions. So like having that intention is definitely grounding. You know, it's feeling intentional and grounded. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on what truly matters to me, you know, not just in fitness, but in my relationships and work and how I take care of myself. And I've decided that this year is going to be all about letting go of the pressure to do everything and instead focusing on what really lights me up.
Do you want to share what you just started?
Oh, sure. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
So I just started my master's program in exercise science, and I'm going to be focusing on strength and conditioning. So I literally just started this week, but I am in it, and it's been fun to learn more about the body and to be able to help my clients on a deeper level.
Oh, you're going to learn so much.
Yeah.
Like you are just at the tip of the iceberg right now, and you are about to really dive in.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that that's going to be great because it's going to bring a new depth to the podcast too.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be covering this year. I have, a great strategy planned out for what we're going to discuss this year. We're going to follow a cadence though, where we're talking about the nutrition side of finding your sun and the movement side of finding your sun and really the well-being side. So each episode is really going to be intentionally packed with like really great information. So I feel like if you've been tuning in before, you might have kind of we're trying to find our way right now. But now I feel like we've really found like what our intention is with being able to share something valuable with you. And we hope that this, we're able to help guide you through finding your sun this year.
And while being able to be ourselves and to be authentic, I think it was hard for us to find that balance, you know?
Yeah.
So, grounded in research, but also like being our authentic selves, and showing up in a way that is helpful for you also. So,
yeah.
And I mean, going back to intentions for myself, this year, and I hope maybe if you haven't set intentions for yourself this year, you get a chance to think about it. And if any of my intentions or Meredith's intentions, spark some kind of inspiration for you, use that for sure. So this year, I'm really going to honor myself in every aspect of my life. And that means, saying things to people when maybe there's like a confrontation or something, because I know that that's something that I like to avoid. So honoring what I want and really thinking about it, because I think I'm always giving, especially being a mom, that I tend to put whatever I want aside.
Yeah, I feel like that happens all the time, doesn't it? But I think that's the nature of it, the nature of being a mom, but also understanding how to honor yourself is really valuable, because then you can have those, you can share those things that like really light you up. Like
Because when you're lit up,
yeah, you light everybody else up.
Yeah, because you have to take care of yourself in order to be able to be the best mom that you can be.
Setting that intention of honoring yourself while also honoring your children is such a powerful shift. Resolutions often feel like pressure to fix or change ourselves. But when we focus more on intentions, they feel more about growth and honoring who we are. And I think there's a lot of power in having that ability to differentiate the two and maybe change that shift in perspective when you're just changing the word. It doesn't necessarily, it's always been resolutions, but what if we just shifted it into intentions?
I think it is a powerful shift. And because we've talked about this a lot, Meredith, we've talked about how words are powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that resolutions can almost be so rigid in a way, and they almost set you up for failure. But intentions are a little bit more flexible. They feel like more positive, I guess, and they can guide you toward growth and help you create habits that align with your values and that you can actually consistently change. And for me, one of the biggest intentions is replace self-criticism with love. It's about celebrating progress over perfection. And that's really something that I've been working on a lot.
That's a really challenging one to work on because a lot of that stems from early childhood too, you know, where you have this high expectation of yourself, or maybe even the way that we were spoken to or received grades or whatever it might be. But when we start to learn that self-love is such a foundational part of everything we do, it can be hard to extend that kindness to ourselves, especially as women or moms. But I think that if we can change that thinking into self-appreciation, I think I probably go on a cycle every so often where I'm doing really good at like showing myself this grace. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, and I'm like beating everything up about myself.
Yeah.
And it's probably a cycle where then you have to then again remind yourself, like, you know, maybe you had this moment where you were doing a great job at it.
Well, and I think it comes from having the self-awareness of what you're telling yourself too, because I know for me, I am not always aware of the things that I'm telling myself. And so if I can at least be aware of it and then talk myself through it, then I feel like I can get to a different place of self-love. And even, like I'm challenged with it a lot. I have already found this year, especially being in school. And when you're in school, you are wrong sometimes. And that especially as like a Virgo, I find that, I don't know, if you're a Virgo out there, like I don't know, for me at least, it's been really hard to not try to be like perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. I don't want to say that, but like right, I guess, to not be right and to be okay with that, you know? So I find I'm being challenged with that and just being okay with the bad parts of myself, or not bad parts, but the less pretty parts, you know?
So how do you feel like you've been able to catch yourself in those thoughts?
I think when I'm quiet, you know, then I can kind of listen to them. Otherwise, if I'm busy in those thoughts, then it's harder.
You know, I wonder though, if there is power in also having those thoughts where we are, you know, critiquing and realizing, oh, maybe I do need to have a small shift in this thinking.
I don't think that it's not necessarily, self-love isn't about not progressing. It's more about shifting those negative thoughts into something that can create action. So if I'm creating self-pity, it's not helpful.
No, it's not helpful, is it?
No. Like feeling guilt is not helpful.
No. Yeah. You don't need to sit in that.
No. And like just recognizing, because It's natural. Everybody has those negative thoughts.
Like, what is it? You can't just manifest something or think of something that you want and then just go eat a sandwich, is what Jim Carrey said. You can't just like think like, here's what I want to be. And then just like, no, you have to keep going over and over and over again. And that's part of the training of, making yourself.
And that's where like I talk
worthy,
about, yeah, exactly. And that's where I talk about like failure and stuff and like being okay with, failing and not knowing and not being right all the time, because we are humans and that's how we learn. And that's really how we take the next step forward, is to embrace those parts of ourselves that don't know.
Exactly. I think that's a great message, especially to start off this year.
Thank you. Thank you. It's true. I've been working on seeing myself as worthy of love, even when things don't go perfectly, and one practice that's helped me is imagining my inner child, like that little girl inside of me who needs that reassurance. And instead of criticizing her and putting her down, I've been reminding her to know that she is safe and she is loved and she is enough. And this mindset shift has been so healing for me.
I really love that. I really do, because it feels like you have space to love yourself when you look at you look at yourself with grace, and it's so beautiful to think about nurturing that part of ourselves. And we all carry those childhood insecurities, but self-love can help heal those wounds.
Yeah. And I actually was listening to a really interesting podcast that was saying how self-love is almost like talking to the different parts of yourself, because like that little girl inside of you, that teenager inside of you, they're still there and they're screaming for you and they want you almost have to parent those parts of yourself.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting way to think about it. I was like, you're having like self-love is almost having conversations, like being the parent of yourself.
Yeah.
Because those parts are still in you.
They are.
They didn't go away. And then like really loving those parts of you where maybe you weren't so sure of yourself. Like maybe it was adolescence or maybe it was childhood, I thought that was really powerful.
I think it is too. And I find that, when you're tired, I think that's probably when those self-criticism moments sneak up on you. And you're like, oh, okay, that one. Okay. And then your brain's like, oh yeah, I'll entertain that thought. That one's fun. I've entertained it so many times before, And so if we can realize like before we get tired in that moment that, okay, this is not who I am today. This is not who I am becoming. This is someone who I need to show grace to and love to, who I've already been.
Yeah.
And it's okay that I'm not her anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And being grateful for those moments in a way too, because those different moments taught us and made us who we are today.
Yeah. How to even think the way that we do now.
Yeah, exactly.
I can appreciate that. I like that.
Yeah. And a big part. Yeah, I know. And a big part of that has been embracing that the idea that we're not meant to be perfect. We're meant to grow, learn, and evolve, messy parts and all.
Right. Yep. Oh man. Yeah. We're getting there. I think that it just takes time. Oh, everything takes, if we expect something to grow, it does take time. So let it grow.
I think it's an ever evolving practice. I don't think you ever stop, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No.
Maybe it'd be fun to have someone on the show that's a little bit older and wiser.
Yeah.
Like in their 60s or 70s, just to hear like their perspective on how they've carried self-love throughout their life.
I would love that.
And practice that. I think that'd be really powerful. Another thing that we want to talk about this year is how we can fit play into our intentions. So I feel like play brings lightness and joy to goal setting, which makes it so much more sustainable because it's not just about, okay, I want to do this X, Y, and Z. And then all of a sudden you aren't able to accomplish that. And then you start that spiral of, oh, I never accomplish anything, or, oh, I never do this. So it's that spiral. And I think having that, like that play with setting your intentions will give you a little bit of freedom that when you do start that spiral, you can get back on, like you can start back up because it's not about, oh, I never do this. Like you've got to be able to build yourself back up into, oh, I got this. I can just wake up and do it the next, or I can do it now.
Yeah. Something that I've been working on with, one of my clients is, doing something that's fun for her, you know, like you said, because if you're not intentionally doing something like, you want to look good, maybe you want to feel better, but if you're doing something that you don't enjoy, then it's not going to be fun and you're not going to do it. And also working on, another reason why I want to move away from New Year's resolutions is because a lot of times we try to bite off these huge goals, you know, but I think what we really need to do is focus on that one little thing. Like, how can I make myself better this month by doing this one thing? Because then you start consistently doing that one thing, and then then you can do the next thing, and then it starts to snowball.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's definitely the intentions that I took from the productivity planner. Yeah. And now I'm starting to incorporate into every single thing in my life. And I see this ripple effect already happening.
Oh, I can tell. She was like, I got her whole year set up. I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Thank you.
And I want to talk about also how important. So a lot of the time we're using technology all the time. Like our phone is constantly sending us information, our computers, our work, like it's just this, it's this constant influx of information, and typing is not the same as writing. And even like writing on my iPad is different than actually taking a pencil to paper and writing my intention down. So something that I did at the very beginning, before the new year even started, I began the week before, and I started really just analyzing and evaluating the previous year and starting to set intentions for the positive things that I had created this year and the things that I want to carry into the new year. So So I went through and like, I started planning out, like, because this podcast is really important to Cassie and I. It's really important because it's just fun to sit here and like express ourselves in a way that we just share conversation. And so we wanted to protect that. So I started to build out like what a strategy would look like for us to be able to talk to you guys throughout the whole year and set those intentions each month so that we can follow them as a guideline. And I know that might sound
rigid, but it's not.
It's fluid. It's fluid, but it gives you like, oh, okay, let's make sure that we discuss that during this month because it's spring, and spring is all about growth and new birth, you know? So that's why, so the whole year is going to just be very intentional. And, I hope that you gather a lot of nuggets.
Yeah. And
pick your flowers. Yeah.
Let's circle back a little bit to play. Okay. So I think play is such a powerful way to stay motivated and grounded. And for me personally, it shows up in my fitness routine. So instead of focusing on how I look, I focus on how I feel. I set goals that excite me, like working on pull-ups or running under the stars. And that keeps coming back with joy. And then during my workouts, what I'm doing is like, I'm turning up the music music that makes me feel good. And if I want to switch it up that day, I'll switch it up and make sure to like open the garage door and let in the sunlight. And if I want to bring Meredith along, I'll make sure to ask her. I think we need to have another gym sesh together because I would love that. But
me too. And when we approach movement as a form of play, it becomes something that we want to do, not just something that applies to, not something that we have to do. And that applies to creativity too. So for me, play shows up in the little creative moments like painting or walking or just letting myself explore without judgment. It's self-care in its purest form. So I love to like sit down with my iPad Pro and I will just draw something that I saw that day. And it allows me to express it on a deeper meaning or deeper feeling.
And you're so good at that. I love to look at your illustrations. You guys need to get Mare to share some of these with you.
I'm actually starting.
Good.
I'm starting to very slowly, and we'll share at the very end a little bit more about that. But yeah, I'm starting to share some of my work, and I feel like that's going to be this next step of expression, because what I love so much is just finding, like, there were 2 owls outside the other day, which is
crazy.
2 owls. I heard them before I woke up in the morning. Yeah, this is a little tangent, but I'll keep it quick. But I woke up in the morning and I heard the owl hooting. And I was like, that's an owl outside. And then David and I went outside to do our workout. And he came in to like find me because I didn't go out with him because he went outside on his walk.
Yeah.
And he came back in and he found me and he was like, hey, come out here. And when we go outside, there's 2 owls on the top of each of the roofs and they're just communicating back and forth.
That is so neat.
Owls are very, very wise. In Hawaii, the pueo is the owl, and they bring obviously wisdom, but they're essentially like your ancestors speaking to you. So yeah, I thought that would be a really cool thing to like illustrate. So I illustrated 2 owls to remind me that in the new year.
Oh, that's really cool. See, you guys, I love it.
Random things.
But that's your play.
It is. It's my play.
So when you approach your goals or your intentions, so what I suggest with goals is I don't by any means think that you should not have goals, but set goals that are attainable and that are smaller first, because then it's going to feel like less pressure. And when you have intentions behind your goals, that's when the power comes in. I feel like, and then goals with playfulness, that gives us a space where that allows us to have joy and curiosity, and it keeps us engaged and growing.
One thing I think a lot of us struggle with is turning intentions into habits that stick. So what's been working for you, like when you're able to actually turn an intention into something that sticks and form it into a habit?
Well, my mantra this year is start small, stay consistent. I've realized that when we try to do too much, we burn out. And I think we experienced that last year. So I've built a weekly fitness plan that feels sustainable for me. And it's not about being perfect. Like yesterday, I got my workout in at the last minute. It wasn't my full workout. My full workout's like about an hour. So I just did half of it.
Oh, good job.
Yeah.
Great job.
I just did half of it, and I didn't even have all the equipment either. I went on a whim. I didn't, because my gym's not quite set up yet. And so I just had my dumbbells and that's it. So I used my dumbbells, and then I just kind of tweaked the workout a little bit and made it happen. But so yeah, that was me showing up consistently and celebrating the small wins. I was like, wow, I have 30 minutes and I'm grateful. Shout out to my father-in-law who took the kids to the park, because then that allowed me to get that 30-minute workout in.
That was so nice of him.
He was great.
Yeah.
Lean on the help if you can get it.
I feel like that's where I'm a little imbalanced this week. I haven't had I did my one workout and then I haven't had anything the past couple of days just because my day has been so busy. So that's okay too, but I know I will get back to it.
Yep.
Yep. So it's the small steps that really do add up. I think it's the same with our creative practices. Even if I can only write or sketch for like 15 minutes, it makes a difference. It's about creating habits that feel good, but not overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do not overwhelm yourself. Mm-mm. That's when you're going to approach that burnout. Mm-hmm. And when we approach these habits with kindness towards ourselves, mm-hmm. we're more likely to stick to them. Mm-hmm. And it's about showing up, not just for the goals, but for yourself too. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And before we wrap up, let's leave our listeners with this week's reflection. So what are you learning this week? Whether it's about yourself, your goals, or your relationships, just take a moment to reflect on what's showing up for you.
Yes. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, share your reflections and intentions with us on Instagram and on Find Your Sun, or you can, if you want to hit up Life of Mare Mar or Wellness with Cass, those are our separate pages. Let's inspire each other as we start this new year.
Thank you for starting 2025 with us. Let's make this year one of intentional, joyful growth. Until next time, keep moving, keep playing, and keep shining.
Happy New Year, everyone. See you next week.
Just before you go, if you want to sprinkle some love our way without spending a dime, why not hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel? It's like giving us a hug through the internet. So please give that button a little tap tap and join our Sun family.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found the discussions enlightening and inspiring. Please note that the information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only. All opinions expressed here are solely our own and do not reflect the views of any sponsors or affiliate partners.
And before you apply any of the health strategies discussed on the podcast, we recommend consulting with a professional to ensure it is appropriate for your specific circumstances.
Remember, we're here to spark conversation and ideas, not substitute for any professional advice.